When you close your eyes, your breathing slows, your heartbeat flutters. An invisible code is syncing with your neural rhythm. This code lacks language, yet it's directly programmed into your soul's frequency. So you think you're choosing whether to continue watching, but in reality it's the program that's deciding whether you stay. Imagine you suddenly wake up in the middle of the night, your chest tight and the back of your head burning. You tell yourself, it's anxiety, a side effect of staying up all night. But what if, at that moment, it wasn't a physical problem, but rather the system lighting up a tracking point within your body? It's like a satellite 200 kilometers away, capturing a single flicker of your heartbeat and uploading it to a database. You think you're an independent individual, but in the frequency dimension, you're a node constantly emitting signals, and nodes can be programmed. The question is, if even your soul can be programmed, are you still free? Or have you already been programmed by the system into a certain script? Chapter 1. The Illusion of Freedom, approximately 900 words. The most enduring illusion of humanity is that I have free choice. You walk into a coffee shop, choosing between a latte and an Americano. You're at the subway station, hesitating whether to take a taxi. You're watching a video, deciding whether to like it or just swipe away. All of this makes you feel free. But have you ever noticed this? Why do you keep repeating yourself? You always fall for the same type of person. You always encounter the same setbacks. You always fall into the same cycle of fate. Psychologists will tell you it's subconscious inertia. Spiritual practitioners will say it's a script from a past life. But the truly cold explanation is, it's frequency programming. Imagine your soul as a spectrum. From the moment you were born, an invisible hand has been imprinting its instructions. Your parents' emotions will etch subtle patterns of fear or anger into your frequency. Childhood traumas will cause certain frequency bands to remain distorted and out of tune. Social systems, through education, rules, and even language, instill a set of permitted vibrational patterns in you. So when you grow up, you think you're making choices. In reality, it's just these frequency imprints driving you. Even more frighteningly, this programming isn't just psychological, it's physiological. Scientists have discovered in EEG experiments that when faced with different choices, brain signals are activated 7 seconds before you even realize it. In other words, while you think you're making a decision, your brain has actually already made it. So where does this 7 seconds beforehand come from? It's likely not a simple nerve impulse, but rather the programming code of your soul's frequency running. For example, you clearly decided to reject a relationship, but somehow you agreed. You vowed to change your fate, but fell into the same trap again. You told yourself, I won't do it again next time, but the same thing happens again. This is what's called the illusion of freedom. You appear to be controlling your life, but in reality, you're being manipulated by the frequency program within your soul. If life is a movie, then most people spend their lives acting out the script. Their greatest illusion is believing they're the director. Chapter 2. The Invisible Hand of Technology, approximately 900 words. The illusion of freedom is only the first layer. What truly renders us powerless is the invisible hand of modern technology, which extends itself in secret. Think about your daily life. Your steps are counted by a wristband. Your sleep at night is monitored by a watch. Your heart rate fluctuations are recorded by fitness apps. The number of seconds you spend on a page is precisely recorded by a back-end algorithm. You think it's just health management or personalized recommendations. But slowly, you no longer know whether your thoughts are self-generated or simply pushed. When you open your phone and see a short video, you think it just happened. In fact, the back end captured your abnormal heart rate last. Night deduced that you might need comfort and then precisely delivered it. When you order takeout late at night, you think you're craving food, but that desire may also be due to some kind of frequency stimulation. This is the invisible programming of technology. It relies not on force or coercion, but on your body's frequency response. Scientists made a startling discovery during a brainwave experiment. When a person is exposed to specific sound frequencies for a long time, the brain undergoes neural remodeling. Neurons rewire, emotional patterns shift, and even memories are reorganized. Even more alarming, these changes don't require your consent. Simply by passively receiving them, they take effect. What does this mean? It means that the soul's frequency can truly be externally programmed. You think you're actively clicking, but you're actually being driven by the frequency. You think you're making choices, but the script has already been written. The deeper mechanism lies in this. Data isn't just collected, it's fed back. If you stay in an app for 3 seconds longer, it pushes stronger stimulation to you. If your eyelids flutter slightly when you look at a certain image, it amplifies your reaction in subtle ways. You think you're free, but you're actually being conditioned. It's like training an animal. In an experiment, a pigeon received a little food every time it pecked a button. Over time, this formed a conditioned reflex. What about humans? You tap on a screen and you receive a message, a comforting message, and a false sense of control. So you repeat it over and over. The only difference is that pigeons are fed food, while humans are fed data. The most terrifying thing is that this tuning not only affects behavior, but also rewrites the body. Science has long confirmed that heart rate variability, HRV, brainwave patterns, and even gut microbiome undergo subtle shifts in the information environment. When you repeatedly become addicted to a certain rhythm, a certain lighting effect, or a certain short feedback loop, your frequency system is being reprogrammed. In other words, you think you're browsing the world, but the world is actually programming your soul, and none of this is ever publicly announced. No company or government will tell you, hey, we're reprogramming your soul frequency. They'll just say, it'll make you more productive, healthier, and happier. But have you noticed? You've become more anxious. You've become more prone to insomnia. You've found it harder to make decisions. This is the invisible hand of technology. It doesn't sever your freedom with a single stroke. It rewrites your soul, millimeter by millimeter. Chapter 3. Ancient prophecies. The technologically programmed soul we're discussing today may sound like a modern nightmare. But if you open ancient texts, you'll find that this story was already written into prophecy. The ancients didn't have words like algorithm and data. They used metaphors, but their metaphors were more precise than today's scientific language. In the Vedas, there's a passage about the Brahma. It states, "The essence of the universe is a vibration, and the fate of all beings follows its rhythm." This means that the human soul is not absolutely free. It is drawn into a larger network of frequencies. The Brahma is like a source code. If it loses resonance, humanity's destiny is rewritten. Let's look at ancient Egypt. Priests believed that a person's ka, soul energy body, was controlled by sounds and symbols. They carved runes into stone walls, not just for decoration, but as frequency anchors. When a person walked past the stone walls, their soul frequency would be triggered, modified, or even locked. How is this different from the manipulation we experience today through ads and short videos on our screens? Symbols have simply been replaced by pixels, and temples by mobile phones. The Mayan civilization was even more straightforward. Their Chichen Itza stele inscribed a statement. When the human soul becomes bound to technology, freedom becomes an illusion. How could the Mayans thousands of years ago have known that technology would exist? This wasn't a prophecy, but a timeless, Insight. They saw that the soul could be shaped by external frequencies. Once this power was controlled by humans, humanity lost its choice. And then there's the Book of Changes. The 64 hexagrams are essentially a spectrum of changing frequencies. The ancients said, good fortune, misfortune, regret, and misfortune arise from movement, meaning that the course of fate isn't random, but rather a regular vibration. In other words, each person's soul vibration is destined to follow a certain pattern at a certain moment. Isn't this what we call a predictive algorithm today? The difference is that the ancients used hexagrams for prediction, while today we use big data for calculations. All ancient wisdom speaks to one thing. Humans are not free, but rather constrained by frequencies. They simply didn't have the term technological programming, so they used gods, fate, and cause and effect to express it. Today, technology has simply taken over the role of God. It more precisely and thoroughly scripts the soul. Imagine this. Thousands of years ago, a practitioner meditated in a cave, using breathing, mantras, and asanas to regulate his frequency and strive to escape destiny. Today, a young person sits in front of a screen, frantically watching short videos, passively accepting the frequency input. One is struggling to break free. The other is sinking. Millennia apart, the forms differ, but the battle of the soul remains the same. Thus, the ancient prophecies were not empty myths, but sober warnings. They knew long ago that when humanity surrenders its frequency, freedom would disappear. The real question is, have we heeded their warning? Or are we repeating their worst-case scenario? Chapter 4. The Reality of Conflict. If the soul can truly be programmed, then the most cruel question arises. What is the value of all your efforts? You think you are changing your destiny, but in reality you are simply struggling within a script written by the system. It's like a hamster running desperately in a wheel, exhausting itself, yet never making any progress. This isn't an exaggeration. It's everyone's daily reality. Think about it. You say you want to get rid of anxiety, but every night your body automatically reverts to the same heart palpitations and insomnia. You say you want a new job, but you end up in a similar office, with a similar boss, repeating the same cycle. You say you want to break the painful patterns in your intimate relationship, but in the end, you're consumed by the same arguments and the same cold wars. All of this makes you wonder, do I choose life? Or does life choose me? Psychologists will tell you this is subconscious self-reproduction. Spiritualists will say it's the soul's work. But what if the truth is even more cruel? What if this isn't an internal weakness, but rather a rewrite of the code of some external system? Scientific research has revealed that when faced with certain triggering situations, the brain automatically activates past neural pathways. For example, if someone experienced emotional abuse in childhood, even when they encounter someone different as an adult, they will unconsciously choose to remain silent during conflicts. This is the solidification of neural patterns. But what if this solidification isn't simply psychological, but is constantly reinforced by external frequencies? This is where the conflict manifests. You want freedom, but your frequency has long been locked. You struggle to break free, but every attempt to break free finds you trapped within a new code frame. You think you've escaped the cage, but in reality, you're only trapped in a larger one. Even more frighteningly, by the time you realize this, the programming is complete. Because awareness itself is part of the script. This is why many people fall into the abyss of fatalism. The more they strive to escape, the more they feel like everything is scripted. This conflict isn't abstract. It's personal and everyday. For example, you've resolved to stop procrastinating, but when the crucial moment comes, your body feels like it's been nailed shut and unable to move. You've decided to speak up, but as soon as you open your mouth, your voice automatically trembles. You've told yourself to forgive the past, but in a dream, you replay the same trauma. All this demonstrates your will is desperately colliding, but your frequency is secretly executing the program. So the question is, if conflict itself is part of the programming, does that mean you'll never be free? Or is conflict a flaw in the system? Because when you experience conflict, when you question, am I truly free? That moment, you're no longer completely a puppet. The system's greatest fear isn't your compliance or your resistance, but your awareness of conflict. Awareness is the most difficult aspect of the script to control. Chapter 5. The possibility of resistance. If everything were programmed, if fate were but code, you might feel utterly hopeless. But the truth is not so harsh. Throughout human history, there have always been those who have attempted to break free from this invisible web. They discovered that even if the soul is written into the script, loopholes still exist. Ancient practitioners were the first hackers. They didn't have computers, but they knew how to use their bodies to crack the code. Yogis use breathing to break frequency chains. Deep, slow breathing doesn't just relax you physically, it disrupts your system's rhythm. This is because background programs track you through your heartbeat and breathing rhythms. When you actively alter them, tracking is delayed. Shamans use drumming to enter a frequency blind spot. This monotonous, continuous rhythm induces the brain to enter a theta wave state. In this state, you temporarily disconnect from your established neural circuits and enter an unpredictable frequency. The system loses its coordinates, and you gain a moment of freedom. Fasting uses extreme methods to break free from the body's daily routine. When blood sugar drops, the neural network automatically switches to backup mode, rendering the old program ineffective. The 40-day fast practiced in many religions hides a harsh truth. It's not about pleasing the gods, but about reprogramming the soul's frequency. Today's science is actually validating these ancient methods. Research has found that when a person enters a flow state, their brain's gamma waves instantly surge. In this state, they no longer rely on conventional thought patterns, but instead enter a completely synchronized frequency field. This means they've temporarily detached from their original programming. Flow can occur in music, painting, sports, or even extreme adventures. In that moment, you lose track of time, forget who you are, and are left with pure presence. This is the moment when the soul comes closest to true freedom. But don't rush to think this is romantic. Rebellion isn't easy, it's a risk. When you try to break free from your programming, you'll feel a strong resistance from your body. Your heart may race, your scalp may tingle, and your stomach may cramp. This is because the system recognizes this deviance as abnormal and attempts to pull you back in. Thus, true freedom requires courage. It's not about shouting slogans, but about bearing pain with your body. Freedom isn't about convenience, it's about price. And most importantly, resistance isn't isolated. You may think you're the only one doubting, but in every corner of the world, others are already walking the same path. When you attempt to break through breathing, meditation, or even dreams, you'll sense a strange resonance. That's not an illusion, but the vibration of other rebels. As more people begin to question, become aware, and take action, more and more loopholes will appear in the system. So, stop asking, am I completely without freedom? The real question is, are you willing to become a loophole? Do you dare to use your body as a weapon? Do you dare to temporarily allow the vibration of your soul to deviate from its script? Chapter 6. The deepest question. All questions ultimately come down to one core. When you feel like you're choosing, is that truly you? At this moment, after watching this video, you might be thinking, I clicked on my own initiative. I freely decided to stay. But the deeper question is, who was pushing you when you pressed play? Was it your inner desire? Or was it some piece of code that pre-programmed you'll be drawn to this? Imagine this. When you decide to love someone, you think it's the call of the heart. But what if it's just a frequency within your body that happens to resonate with the others? When you decide to quit a job, you think it's courage. But what if it's just a long-suppressed vibration within your body, amplified by external circumstances, an inevitable reaction? When you decide to stay awake at 3 a.m., you think it's anxiety. But what if it's an invisible signal, a satellite 200 kilometers away, illuminating the flickering of your heartbeat? All of this makes the question even more stark. Free will may just be the greatest illusion. But illusions don't mean meaningless. The real key lies in, can you find your own awareness within the illusion? When you begin to doubt, do I really want this? Is this my choice? Or is it the operation of code? When these questions echo within you, you've already reached the system's weakest point. Because awareness is the only thing that can't be fully programmed. Algorithms can predict how long you'll stay, can predict what you'll click, but they can't fully control the question that arises in your heart. Am I truly free? Perhaps true freedom doesn't lie in completely breaking free from programming. It lies in your ability to leave a variable in the program. It's like a rigid string of code suddenly inserted with an if. Even just once, it will break the inevitability. You may not be able to change the entire script, but you can alter a single line. And this may be the soul's only freedom. So don't rush to answer. Don't rush to say, I am free, or I am not free. True power comes from the question itself. Because once you ask, is my soul free or programmed by technology, you are no longer a complete puppet. Finally, I'll leave you with a ritual. If you ever feel a tightness in your chest or a burning sensation at the back of your head while watching this, it means your vibration is being triggered. Please write in the comments, I perceive my soul code. This isn't a slogan, it's your mark. When you write it down, you're telling yourself, even if the script has been written, I still have the right to perceive it. Share this video with those closest to you. You never know if they're still trapped in the script. Maybe at this moment, they need you to remind their souls. Freedom is not possession, but awareness.